You've spent most of your life trying to fix yourself, haven't you? You wake up with that quiet tension in the chest, that subtle hum of something's off. So you make plans, set goals, read books, take courses, always adjusting, refining, upgrading, as if life was some grand self-improvement project. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what if there was never anything wrong with you in the first place? We walk through life like mechanics working on a machine that was never broken. We carry toolkits full of affirmations, routines, and rituals, forever tinkering, tightening the bolts of our personalities, sanding down the edges of our souls. We think if we fix enough parts, we'll finally become the version of ourselves that deserves to exist. But what if that belief itself, the one that says you need fixing, is the very thing that keeps you fractured? Think of a wave on the ocean. Now imagine that wave suddenly becomes conscious. It looks around and says, "Oh no, I keep changing shape. I rise and fall. I crash and disappear. I'm not consistent enough. I must become more permanent, more stable." Can you feel how absurd that sounds? The wave doesn't need to become anything. It is already the ocean, moving, alive, complete in every rise and fall. And yet, we humans do this every day. We declare war on our own nature. We call our imperfections problems, our emotions malfunctions, our evolution work in progress. We spend entire lifetimes trying to repair what was never damaged. You see, somewhere along the line, we bought into a story. The story says you're fundamentally flawed, that something's wrong with you, your body, your mind, your spirit, that you must search, strive, and sacrifice to become whole. And when the right teacher appears, when you master the right habit, then, and only then, you'll finally be enough. But here's the thing most people never question. What if that story is backwards? What if you were never broken at all? What if you were whole from the very beginning and just forgot? Look at a tree. It doesn't wake up in the morning and say, "I need to work on my leaves. These branches are uneven. I must fix myself before anyone can admire me." The tree simply grows. It bends toward the light. It lets its roots find water. It responds, not through judgment, but through trust. We, on the other hand, have created a whole internal corporation. There's a manager who tracks your productivity, an auditor who reviews your emotions, a supervisor who watches every thought. This committee inside your head meets daily, and the agenda is always the same. You're still not enough. No matter what you do, no matter how much you achieve, there's always that quiet whisper, "You should be better by now." But that voice, the one narrating your inadequacy, is not you. It's an echo. It's the residue of conditioning, the sound of parents, teachers, media, and culture replaying through the speakers of your mind. You've absorbed 1,000 judgments and called them truth. You've built a prison out of other people's opinions and started calling it self-discipline. But behind all that noise, something else has been quietly watching. Something still, something vast. The part of you that notices the thoughts, but is not the thoughts. The awareness that sees the storm pass overhead, yet remains untouched by the rain. You are that awareness. You are not the self-improvement project. You are not the voice that criticizes your progress. You are the open sky in which all of that happens. The sky is never harmed by the weather. Storms can rage, winds can howl, but the sky stays untouched, vast, open, free. And that's what you are. The vast awareness in which all experiences come and go. Yes, you'll make mistakes. Yes, you'll have regrets. But that doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. When a child is learning to walk and falls down, they don't create a story about failure. They don't say, "I'm such a defective walker." They simply stand up again. Not out of shame, but out of curiosity. They walk because walking looks fun. That's how natural learning happens, without the burden of self-judgment. You can grow, learn, and change, not because you're incomplete, but because growth itself is the play of life. There's a world of difference between fixing yourself and unfolding naturally. One begins with fear, the other begins with trust. A mechanic works on a broken engine. A gardener tends to a living plant. The mechanic dissects, corrects, replaces. The gardener waters, nourishes, and lets life do the rest. Most of us have been playing the mechanic, diagnosing our own souls, labeling our emotions as malfunctions. But you are not a machine. You are a garden, alive, intelligent, self-organizing. When you start trusting that natural intelligence, something magical happens. You stop fighting yourself. You stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable. You begin to move with life instead of against it. You stop forcing yourself to bloom and realize you were already blossoming. Some people hear this and say, but if I stop pushing myself, I'll get lazy. I'll stagnate number. It's quite the opposite. When you stop draining your energy on self-criticism, that same energy becomes available for creation, for love, for awareness. Think of how much time you spend each day evaluating yourself, comparing, judging, measuring. All that energy could be freed right now for actual living, for breathing, feeling, experiencing, simply being. The person who knows they are already whole doesn't waste time in self-attack. They build, they love, they explore, they play. It's like sitting at a piano. If you play each note afraid of making mistakes, you'll never hear the music. But when you stop trying to play perfectly and just let the song flow through you, something extraordinary happens. Even your mistakes become beautiful. They become part of the rhythm, the character, the story. This is what it means to stop fixing yourself. It's not about abandoning growth. It's about changing your relationship to growth. You stop approaching life as a problem to be solved and start meeting it as a mystery to be lived. You stop seeing yourself as a draft that needs editing and start seeing yourself as a living poem still being written by life itself. When you stop stirring the muddy water, the mud settles on its own. Your natural clarity returns. So much of what you think is wrong with you is just the turbulence created by constant self-interference. Take anxiety, for example. You feel anxious, and then you feel anxious about feeling anxious. You fight it, analyze it, suppress it. But all that effort multiplies the tension. What if anxiety wasn't a problem at all? What if it's just weather, a passing condition of consciousness? When you stop labeling it as wrong, it often softens naturally, like clouds dissolving in sunlight. The same is true for sadness, anger, doubt. These are not errors. They are movements of energy through the psyche, temporary visitors. When you stop resisting them, they complete their journey and leave. We've been trained to believe we should always feel happy, confident, peaceful. But that's like demanding the sky stay sunny every day. The weather changes, and so do you. That's not failure, that's life. Maybe you're introverted in a world that celebrates noise. Maybe you're sensitive in a culture that rewards hardness. Maybe you move slowly in a society obsessed with speed. These are not flaws, they are your design. The oak doesn't try to become a pine. The river doesn't apologize for not being a mountain. They simply express their nature fully. And in that authenticity, they are perfect. When you stop wasting energy pretending to be something else, all that power returns to you. It becomes creativity, presence, vitality. You don't stop learning. You simply learn from joy, not from fear. You grow because growth is beautiful, not because you feel unworthy. Children don't say, I must work on my imagination. They just imagine. They don't say, I should become more playful. They just play. Life teaches them everything they need to know. The same intelligence that grows a child is growing you right now. But somewhere along the line, we stopped trusting that intelligence. We outsourced our wisdom to gurus and systems. We built internal bureaucracies, departments of self-criticism, committees of goal setting, task forces for habit correction. We turned our inner world into a business and called it discipline. But beneath all that management and control, your original nature is still there, untouched, waiting, patient. It's not something you need to find or create. It's what remains when you stop pretending to be someone else. That's the beautiful paradox. The more you try to improve yourself, the more you reinforce the idea that you need improvement. But the moment you realize you were never broken, growth happens naturally, effortlessly. A flower doesn't strain to bloom. It doesn't schedule its petals to open. It simply trusts the sun. When you stop pushing and start trusting, you discover that life unfolds through you in perfect rhythm. This is not a philosophy of laziness. It's a philosophy of alignment, of listening, of trusting the same intelligence that beats your heart, digests your food, and turns starlight into consciousness. Do you really think that force needs your anxious supervision? It knows what it's doing. So here's an experiment. For one day, stop trying to fix yourself. Stop treating your life as a problem. Wake up and let the morning simply be the morning. Notice your thoughts without editing them. Feel your emotions without negotiating with them. Let your actions flow without performance reviews. Treat yourself the way you would treat a dear friend, with gentleness, patience, humor, and watch what happens. You may find that in the absence of constant self-interference, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You begin to relax, the tension melts, and underneath all the effort, you find something simple: peace. Not the peace you chase, the peace that was there all along. From that peace, growth happens naturally. You start to express instead of correct, to play instead of plan, to live instead of manage. Your wholeness was never waiting at the end of self-improvement. It was here, quietly humming beneath every breath. That's the secret the self-help industry doesn't tell you. You were never broken. You don't need fixing. You are already enough. The only illusion is the belief that you aren't. And the great irony is, you can't fix that illusion through more fixing. You can only see through it. It's like realizing the magician's trick. Once you see how it works, the spell is broken. You stop chasing. You start smiling. You are not separate from life. You are life, in motion, in form, in expression. The ocean isn't trying to fix its waves, it's delighting in them. Every crest and crash is perfect, and so are you. Stop trying to fix yourself. There is nothing wrong with you that isn't simply part of being human. You are not a problem. You are a process, a movement, a melody being played by existence itself. When you understand this, truly understand it, you stop striving and start listening. You stop repairing and start dancing. You stop criticizing and start loving, because the wave doesn't need to become the ocean. The wave is the ocean, in motion, in play, in pure expression. And you are life itself, playing at being you. And that dance was never meant to be fixed. It was meant to be lived.